So this is going to be basically a very quick introduction to registering everything, which is just import and register, and then getting a useful E57 for your project. So one of the first things to do is, after registering, get everything lined up. So come into production. Oops, got to look at it. We're going to make a UCS. This one is kind of arbitrary, but I'm going to go ahead and just throw it. So that's where the first scan was. I'm just going to go ahead and throw it down here. Always lock the z-axis because obviously that's figured out. Set it as the current UCS and select a point. Now we need to align it to all of this. So we'll just align it to this face right here. So on the x-axis, which usually it's actually perpendicular when I do this, but you just rotate it anyway. Oops. We're just basically trying to select what's useful. Don't worry about that. We're selecting some extra right here. We'll clean this up in just a second. But I, O, and P on the keyboard are what you want to use here. So you're keeping the points that are in your selection, the points that are out of your selection. And then P is like a special function as far as I know. Basically, you keep what's in and then delete everything that's out. That has more to do with segmentation, which we'll get into later. But just click I when you've selected it. Okay, now we just need to get rid of what else. The easiest way to do that, you could select this over here basically and then click O, but instead of that, escape, I'm just going to select from this angle this wall and click I, and now boom. Don't spend too much time. I mean, you could, like right here, generally I wouldn't even waste my time with that because it's such a tiny bit of data. But you don't need to, like, if there's a light switch or something, maybe I'll click around that and then click O, so it just keeps the wall and gets rid of what's in there. But anyway, then you click this button right here to create a plane. You can tell, obviously, that it's pretty much all aligned with that. And then click exit, and that will set your UCS correctly. Again, it's usually perpendicular to that x-axis, so you just come down here to rotate Z on the 90, boom. Now we've got a good square UCS to work with because we're not trying to align anything with some kind of survey point or anything like that. Sometimes you can import a DWG and align, a foundation to some grid lines or something. That obviously is very helpful. But for this project, it's just kind of a standalone thing. Create the UCS. Now there's an important, I usually name it, that way it's just easier to keep track of. Oops. UCS 01, whatever. An important step is to come here on the drop-down menu, select the UCS, and click Set as Home UCS. Modify the coordinates of your entire project. And what that does is, when you select it, you will now notice that this yellow box is aligned with that. And if you go to a top view, everything is aligned and nice and pretty. Then the next thing is to select your project cloud and go to segmentation, because we can basically get rid of everything. Just usually select like this. P, right, will keep what's inside and erase what is we're selecting, or rather create its own object. So if you want to work with this house later, you could just like select this whole area and click P and then just rename that object to, house 2 or something. But anyway, we're just basically going to get rid of everything that is not this roof. Zoom in and clean up that last little bit. You can, Control Z, undo these actions too if you ever make a mistake. Rotate it a little. That. Anything else? Okay, so then we have to clean up, the ladder that was caught, people that was caught, okay? So you come into view and go to limit box mode and just select what you want to work on. but this is very important. You need to select this box right here. Box selection only, select inside the box. If you don't, and you come over here and select this, well, you're selecting the ground, the roof that's behind this. Even though you can't see it in the limit box, you're still selecting it. So you need to make sure you click select box only, inside box only. Okay, and you can move this around. Sometimes that's easy. I usually just exit real quick and then open. Oops. Come down, usually to where you find the roof, and then I don't know what that is. We'll probably delete that in a second. A lot of times that's just the easiest. But you can zoom in and just delete all of the. This stays selected, FYI. It's usually just not selected during the first use of the tool. Let's see, that. I don't know if that's part of the roof. It doesn't look like it. No, that was someone's foot or something. It's not really important. This doesn't even matter, but just, having a nice clean project. So you can see that the roof is slanted. You come in here to this selection. A lot of times I'll just kind of, especially if it's not super critical, you just kind of get rid of most of the roof data and then kind of follow this slope line. And you can see you end up with a pretty clean finished product. It looks like there's one point up here. Again, don't matter. Don't care. And I think they want all of that data because they're making a cap, so this stuff might matter. Oh, a little tiny piece still hanging out there. A little piece there. Let's see if we can just do this without clipping. Yep. Okay. We went from like 80 million points down to 34 million, but we're going to make it even smaller. Let's see, so here and here. Oh, look, so there's some stuff above it. I'm glad I saw that because that would have been obnoxious. Edit, project cloud, segmentation. Anything that might be up there. These floating points are just from, errors or, gosh, it could have been a bird, could have been a piece of trash. Something that kind of reflected funky somewhere else. It's due to the nature of the quantity, 80 million points, 34 million points left. You just end up with some erroneous stuff sometimes. Okay, so we should, it still says it's a big box, but I think we got everything. Okay, so now we're going to do two things. I think, can I copy just the cloud? No, so we have to segment first, and we're going to do that anyway. Basically, 34 million points. It's still a pretty decent size scan. We could bust this down to 3 million points and have like way plenty of data. So you come up, you select your project cloud, come to sampling. And the idea is here, there's a few ways around it. There's a few smart functions of this, auto classification, steal if you have the modeling version. Spatial, this basically just means that it's going to select a point and then an eighth of an inch away, it'll select another point, eighth of an inch away, it selects another point, so on and so forth. This looks like it'll be about half. We're going to do a little bit more than that. I'm going to come down here to my here and go fractional inches just because it's easier. And so instead of 1/8, we're going to do 3/16. Sometimes it can be a little funky. 3/16. Yeah, see. It's not happy with that. So what is 3/16? Forgive me for not knowing that off the top of my head. 3 divided by 16, 1875. 0.1875. There. And then it goes to 3/16. So we'll preview it. And it's basically just going to space out all of these data points 3/16 of an inch apart from each other, which is way accurate enough for what they're building here. We can also, if we're supplying this to a client or you're using this yourself, you can still just take the entire project cloud you have left, all 34 million points. But let's see, we'll create that. I wonder if you can tell the difference. So here's what's showing. Oops. So you can't even tell from here, and even when you zoom in, there's still just a ton of data around those corners and everything. Ooh, look at that. You know what? I am so glad we checked. that looks like the registration is off, which is really surprising. Good lesson here. Don't trust auto registration blindly. Let's see, RealWorks, batch output. Let's look at these pictures. I'm picking this up on the recording, right? Yes. Yeah. So one of these should be above. Here we go. Yeah, so it's just a very clear concrete scan. Roof, I mean. Okay, so we might have to undo the work we've done right now, but that's fine. This is a good lesson. Go ahead and delete this because that will not be adjusted, I don't think. So the project cloud, and then we'll go back to registration. We'll go to registration. I don't remember. I think it was cloud-based, but see, it's all very happy here. Obviously not right, because that right there is a dead giveaway that you've got, you know, which is amazing because usually with this huge flat plane of this roof and these four sides, I mean, this should have been the easiest registration ever. And these are all, 99%, 98%, whatever. Okay, so let's go. Man, I thought that it would have been cloud. Why am I? Okay, so there we go, cloud-based. So it doesn't matter which one is referenced, just be 1 and 2. So we'll just run through and do this manually real quick. Where am I? There we go. One may have been on the other side. Man, it's harder to find than I would have expected. Yeah, so that's the other side. So this one might be, not ideal. But gosh, you can pick anywhere. So we'll just go underneath this column a little, Registration computed. Looks good from here. Registration visual check. I wonder. I don't ever have to use this. Let's see. Yeah, here. Horizontal slice. So there's going to be nothing there. But the ground looks, roof looks good there, so we should be good there. Here, what we're going to do is just kind of go through and assume that this will work better. Add to the reference, so we're good. 1 and 2 is good. So now it'll be the registered to 3, or 3 to the registered rather, is moving. So the front face. So again, we'll just go off this building. Looks like it caught a little less. And then a little backwards. That would be right there, so we can just go right underneath this. Oops. Did I pick here first? 1, 2. Yeah, I may have been able to get away with just clicking refine. But anyway, this is fine. This is, going through this and just look at it. See, it's already computed. Oh, no computed error. See, that looks really crisp to me. The automated may have just gone too quick or something.
Jody? Yeah? Yes? Oh, you're all clean. All shiny.
Okay.
So she's going to give you some breakfast.
See, there was the weird one. Look at that.
I'm working on some paperwork.
Look at that.
Okay?
So 5 is the one
I
above.
don't know, Ruby, if you remember where that stuff is or not.
And I'm very surprised.
Yeah.
Let's see. I mean, it gets so much of this corner and still multiple faces over here. So we'll just, this is the top. Come on. There it goes. Oh, looked like it moved slightly. It did. Look at that. You still have a bit of a round, so. I mean, that must be a chamfer, right? That maybe the scanners below couldn't see and the top one can't see. It looks like there's probably like a 1-inch chamfer. I know that's common with concrete look, and it did that. So apply, and then there's a 6th. Looks like this moved slightly, maybe, or just saw different. Just another scan from above. There we go. So just refine, and then we'll just click refine again, basically. Apply, and that should be it. I think there was only 6. Okay. So close. Yeah, so we lost all of that work. That's all right. Good lesson in. Or maybe actually when we go out of registration, maybe it goes away. But I want to refine it anyway. So orientation and registration report, maybe. See, I thought there was a button that said refined. Refinement will move each group as a single entity. See, there's a good bit of, looked like it all moved there. Nope, but it messed it up. Look at that. So maybe Control Z. Yeah, see there, that's better, but still not perfect. Maybe it is closer to perfect than I'm giving it credit. I just have that weird line there. Close that. Let's go to view. See, that looks ugly to me. Let's see. I've done it before. Basically, where you can